All right, you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to go over managing leadership challenges and just the different challenges you'll face as leadership in a leadership position and how to take care of them. So first, just defining what leadership challenges are. They're basically any challenges you face as a leader. They can be personal or professional. They could be internal or external. So I'll just go deeper into that. But before that, first let me focus on the importance of listening as a leader. So as a leader, you're going to be leading at the end of the day people. So you have to be able to listen to them. You have to be able to recognize that each one is a unique individual, and you have to approach them as a unique individual. So some people they're going to require more motivation than others. Some people require more attention, while others will just be able to listen to directions and just go straight ahead. So just internal challenges. So internal challenges are basically challenges that are internal to yourself. So basically just being humble. No one wants a leader that's too arrogant. But you also have to be self-confident enough so that people have confidence in you. I know those are basically the opposite things, but you sort of have to do a balancing act between them. You also have to deal with the stress and anxiety that comes with being a leader. So it's important to practice self-care so you can avoid getting burned out. Um, so external challenges are basically just any challenges that come externally. It can be like a problem in the organization you're working for, or it can be competition from another organization, whether it's in the corporate world or non-corporate world. So some of the external challenges that are common are when something new is starting, like a project is starting. That's a challenge because you have to ready your team, you have to motivate them. When something's ending, so if a project or contract is ending, as a leader, you have to be able to gather your team to either celebrate or make sure that they nail the landing. Uh, Also, just generally when times are tough, there are going to be moments where your organization might be facing public criticism. So as a leader, you need to be able to manage that. Or there's a lack of motivation because there's a lack of funding. You just need to be able to keep a handle on that. So when it comes to mounting challenges, this is just the simple one line that you need to keep in mind. Be proactive. Since you're a leader, you're the one who's going to have to take charge. You're going to be the one who has to take the initiative. So President Obama had a quote where he mentioned that there was something liberating, humbling, and about leaning on the process. So it's really important to have your own process when it comes to how you approach issues. So when it comes to dealing with conflicts within your team, you might have a process like speaking with each person individually to hear their side of the story before you come to a decision, or you could have any number of processes. So just because you have a process doesn't mean you have to follow it exactly step by step, but you have a guide. So in the case of President Obama, whenever he had to make a major decision, he'd be asking everyone in the room what their opinion was. That way he had a wide range of opinions to draw on. Obviously, everyone in the room was some sort of expert or had some sort of expertise, so you could lean on them. But it's just one example of having a process for making decisions. All right, that about wraps it up. Any questions?
Excellent. Let's go ahead and give Mahmoud a round of applause. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. I have one for you, Mahmoud. Why did you choose this topic? What about this particular topic do you find so interesting?
Well, it was a mix of things. Just because eventually I think a lot of us will be in leadership positions, so I was wondering how to deal with them. And uh, we already learned project management, but we didn't focus too much on sort of the challenges that come up as leader,
Hmm.
especially with people. So just something I want to dig deeper into.
Awesome, awesome. And one of the things that you brought up to Mahmoud I thought was really interesting is having that fine balance between being a humble leader, right? Not like a bossy know-it-all, like I'm the best, but also being a strong leader, being a decisive leader. Like how do you know like which which hand do you play? How do you make that decision as a leader? Is this a moment for me to like listen and be humble and listen to my team, like the example you shared of President Obama? Or is this a moment where I just need to make a decision and I need to, move our organization forward? Like, how do you know as a leader which path to choose? Or is it not quite that clear?
It's not always that clear, but you sort of just have to read the room, I guess. You have to be able to see when you're being too overconfident, if it's rubbing your team the wrong way, maybe. Or I suppose something that's important to keep in mind is when it comes to making a major decision, if you've already made the decision, you have to fully commit. So in that case, you should be confident. Uh, it's really a yes or no scenario at that point, so you have to be fully confident. But when it comes to things like dealing with just talking to your team on a regular basis, you should be humble.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. Looks like Ashley Ross had a question in the chat box for you, Mahmood. What type of challenge do you think is the hardest to overcome as a leader? How would you answer that?
Um, I suppose the hardest challenge might be dealing with failure, because when you're in a leadership position, the failure is on you, even if it was caused by someone in your team. Uh, you're still the person who was supposed to be able to prevent that, or uh, it still goes back to you since you're the one in charge. You have to take responsibility for it.
Hmm. Yeah, great answer. Excellent answer. Thank you. And just out of curiosity, Mahmood, like what books or resources or authors did you um, look at to prepare for your presentation? Because your presentation was really well done, really well developed. I just want to know what kind of influences you had getting ready for this talk.
Well, one notable one was actually an article by President Obama that I found where he was reflecting on his time as president. So I could drop a link to that in the chat, actually.
That'd be great. Awesome. Any more questions for Mahmood on the topic of managing leadership challenges, which I think is a very important, I know is a very important topic as all of us enter internship um, and go into our careers. The last one I have for you, Mahmoud, I know you're looking for the link right now, is you touched on it for a moment, is self leadership and the challenges that come along with that. Can you elaborate on what self leadership is and why that's so important as a leader? Because oftentimes we think of a leader, we think of the person, behind the desk, making all the decisions, calling all the shots. He or she's the boss. We don't oftentimes think of leading yourself. So what does that mean, and how do you do that well?
Well, a big part of being a leader is just, well, it's not just ordering people around, it's, your own internal struggles. So you have to stay motivated yourself. You have to avoid burnout. Also, you have to just acquire new skills yourself when it comes to leadership. You have to constantly be learning new things. So it really is just a constant process of trying to improve and trying to uh, maintain that balance.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Mahmood. We'll go ahead and give a round of applause. Awesome presentation. Loved what you had to share. Another person that I would encourage you to check out, everybody who's interested in diving more into leadership, is Simon Sinek. He has TED Talks and he has books. He has a really fabulous book that I read years ago called Leaders Eat Last, which I think is probably one of the best leadership books I ever read. Another one is Jocko Willink is also a great resource for leadership as well. He has a podcast and does seminars. And it looks like Mahmoud dropped the link as well. Um, and Eric, oh, wow, all right. So thank you so much, Mahmoud. Really appreciate this. I wanted to go ahead and do an opening exercise to prove to you why Sparklines are such an important part of Excel. So right now we have this data set right here. This is a sales report from 6 months, May through October, and this is in your Schoology. So I want you to go to your Schoology. I want you to download this Excel spreadsheet, and when you have it, if you maybe you already have it downloaded, but when you have it downloaded, give me a green check so I know that you have it ready to go. So once again, Schoology, Unit 3. Make sure it's there. Macros and more. class resources. It's called Lesson 2 Sparklines Practice. Give me a green check when you have it. I'll give you 30 more seconds. All right, looks like about a third of us have it. The rest of us, I'm sure, are still downloading it. So what I want you to do for this exercise, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I'm going to give you a hint up front. This is going to be very challenging, and it's going to take longer than 5 minutes, and it might not even be possible. So let's see if any group can do it. I'm putting you in groups of 3, and I want you to create a chart. All right, like we did before, a pie chart, a bar chart, a graph chart that can somehow make sense of this data. All right, so let's see if any group is up for it. We just had a great workshop on leadership challenges. Here's a chance to flex your leadership challenge muscles. Use this data set and create a chart that's understandable. And I'll give you 4 minutes. Let's see if anybody can do it. So go with your team, and let's see what we come up with on the other side. See you soon. Hey, Christian, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, Eric?
I'm good. How's your week going?
Everything's good. Little
Good.
tired, but I'm doing good. And you?
Not bad. Also the same. A little bit tired, but taking it day by day.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Go ahead and let everybody make their way back to the main room. All right. It looks like we're all making our way back. So just out of curiosity, let's take a look at some of our charts. Did you find the exercise to be very challenging? Maybe, maybe not. How about room 2? Chelsea, Hannah, Tiana. Can someone from that room show us their chart? How did they organize the data set to make it understandable? Or was it an impossible task?
It was definitely a hard task. Oh, I don't think we really decided on one that looked okay. We were still playing with it.
Yeah, I have one here. It's a recommended one that I played with, but it's no good, Eric.
It's not
It
good.
was a complete setup from the beginning.
It was not. Yes, you don't want to show it, so you know, like this isn't.
I mean, I can show you. It's just not gonna be any good. I'm honest.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what you guys came up with. I mean, you're 3 smart, capable people. Let's see what chart you got for this.
I can barely understand the table, so understanding the chart was like.
Yeah, so I see what you did here. So you have the names on the bottom. You can see the revenue they brought in. But I mean, as we can all see here, you know,
It doesn't have all the information. It's mostly just, I think these are averages.
So it shows their averages. It doesn't show the details. So appreciate you showing us that. Did anybody else choose a similar chart where it's like you can like kind of make out what it is, but it doesn't show you in detail what it is? So anybody feel like they got one that was like this is on point? You can tell exactly what's going on. Amna, what happened with your group?
I made a pivot chart.
Oh, sweet. Let's take a look.
Okay. I don't know if I did it right, but here it goes.
All right, we
This
got
is what I did. No, you're not on here. No.
Okay, so this is showing the sum of every single month, but it's not showing the individual.
Yeah, because if I used their names, it would have been too tiny, and then you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
So I made it the sum of each month.
Awesome. So that's a little bit better. You get an idea of okay, this is how we did each month. using the colors. All right, cool. Like it. Thank you, Amna. Mohammed, what was the route that you went?
I use a different one. Me and Davis and Ashley Gavin will come up with Sparkline.
Oh, so you guys went with the Sparkline.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys jumped ahead, which I'm glad you did. So look at what's going on here. So Mohammed, explain to us what that is. Like, what are you hovering over right now?
So that's the line graph. So basically it shows from May to October how the numbers change from going up and down.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is column. So just like the graph, you can use the column too.
Yeah.
And then the last one is win and lose. So when it's green, that means it's like you're winning, and when it's red, so you got a negative numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I changed the numbers purposely.
Yeah. So you see what Mohammed did there? Like, look at September for Zoe Altman. Like, it was negative 13,000. So you see how it's red? It's in the negative. Same with the month of July. It was in the negative. But then the month she was in the green, it was positive. So that's what he did there. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today is Sparklines. For those of you who watch the videos, you already know what Sparklines are. But like I said in the beginning of class, this is not a very complicated task, but it's something that's useful to know how to do. So Mohammed, you can stop sharing your screen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started with it. And then we'll give you some time to practice and submit your deliverable that's due tonight. We also have David and Mohammed and Ashley Ross on standby. If after the lesson you're still like, wait, I don't understand how to do this, they're available to be put into a breakout room with you that helps with some extra coaching. All right, so why I have you do the extra, oh, by the way, you can go off camera since we're just looking at the Excel spreadsheet if you want to. But why did I have you do that exercise in groups of 3? I had you do that because there's times when you have a data set that's just too complicated that using a traditional chart or graph is not going to cut it. So Sparkline is a really cool resource that you can utilize that gives you a visual on your data when you have a complex data set like you have here. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll do this together collaboratively as we have people who have watched the video, and like Mohammed already showed us how to do it. But let's go ahead and say you have your spreadsheet here. You want to do a Sparkline here in each column with every single piece of data that you have. What's the first step? Someone want to raise their hand, and I'll give you the mouse, and you can show us what you do to get your Sparkline here in the column H. Yes, Pablo, awesome. Let's go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm going to give you the control, and you can show us what the first step is and explain what you're doing as you go.
So I'm pretty sure you go to insert, the same as if you were going to insert a graph. It's because mine's different, so mine just tells me right away where it is.
No, it's okay. You're like towards the middle, a little bit to the right is a Sparkline. It's a line column. There you go.
Yep. And then you want to click on the data. So for this one, you want to click all of this.
So you see what he's doing? He's grabbing everything from the data set.
And then you press OK. And then it's going to give you the line right here.
And you see, it was that easy. So do us a favor, Pablo, do the same thing for H3 for those people who need to look at it again.
Okay. So you click on cell H3.
Mm-hmm.
You go to insert. And you go to line. And then you just highlight it again. And then you press OK.
So thank you so much, Pablo. So you see how this line shows the themes of Carol's, Allison's sales. The 18,000 is on the high end. That was the last month of her sales cycle. 10,000 is a little bit lower, it goes down. And this is a lot easier to grasp than just trying to do a large, go ahead and stop, have control. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Whoop. So that's a lot easier to understand. And then when you click on to the to your Sparkline, up here at the very top of the ribbon, you'll have a design. So you're able to kind of move things around and change them. If someone else wants to raise their hand and demo for us, like how you can change your Sparkline around a little bit and make it a little bit easier to read. Anybody know how to do that? So Pablo got the Sparkline onto the sheet. That's the first step. What are some ways you can design it to make it a little bit more accessible to read as opposed to just being one single line? Anybody know? Yep, Mohammed, I'm going to go ahead and give you the control. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and explain what you're doing. All right, the floor is yours, Mohammed.
Is it working?
Yep, it's working. You got control of the mouse.
Okay, so let's say I want to change this. I want to have a point from the start point to the end point, or the highest to the lowest.
Mm-hmm.
What I gotta do is click check, and then it shows the point at the top.
So you see what he just did there? He pressed high point at the top, and then he gets a little red dot at the highest point of sales that Carol had, which was October. He just hit low point. That's the lowest point of sales, which was in June.
Mm-hmm.
You can do negative points, but there are no negative points on this. She had sales every single month. That's the last point. You can do the first point. So it's just little ways that you can be creative and make your Sparkline a little bit easier to read. And then go up to marker color, Mohammed, and you can show how that works as well. So you could have like different colors that you could utilize if that's helpful. Like the high point could be a certain color. They could say the high point I want it to be green. The low point I want it to be red. See? So these are just different tools that you can utilize, and you can just be creative. And like I shared, Sparklines, I mean, they are pretty cut and dry. Pablo modeled for us, how do you get a Sparkline? Mohammed showing us how do you, orient it so you're able to see, what it looks like. Thanks, Mohammed. I'm going to go ahead and take control. And then, of course, just like, so let's go ahead and zoom in here. So let's say I want to go on my design. I want the high point and the low point, and marker color. I want my high point to be green. I want my low point to be red. Mohammed already had that. It's kind of hard to do this because I have the zoom button there. But if I wanted to even change the color of my Sparkline, I could. And then, of course, if you wanted to, make it a little bit bigger, that's an option as well. I personally don't like doing that. And then just like every single time that you have a, something you want to copy, what do? You just grab it, you pull it down, and you see how everything, translated. The highest point is green, the lowest point is red. So this gives you an idea, a very clear visual. People had, good months and bad months. And here's one of the benefits of doing this exercise is you can very quickly identify trends. Like look right here. Here we see all of our salespeople all had their lowest point, their red dot in the same month. It looks like the month of, let's go up, month of August. So maybe we've identified, okay, well, August clearly is not a good month because look, all of our salespeople did pretty bad in August, but they picked it back up in September and October. So maybe we assume the industry that they work in is, I don't know, they sell boots. Nobody buys boots in August. They all want to buy boots in September and October when the weather gets a little more chilly. So it's one of those ways that you can quickly identify trends. And if you notice here, this is interesting. This salesperson and this salesperson, they both had a really good month in the month of June. So maybe you want to pull them into your office and talk to them. Hey, what happened in June? This person as well, in line 31. Pull those 3 or 4 people in. Say what happened in June. Why did you sell so well that month? What's going on there? So as you can see, this is a very easy way to look at the data, get an idea of what's going on here. And then I think Muhammad did this earlier, but just to show you an example of what it looks like, if let's suppose you wanted to change it, you could do this as well. You could do win losses. Of course, that won't work because everything was positive, but there's different formats that you can do to make it work. And that's a Sparkline. So you're given this data set. It's very hard just to go and do a typical chart. This is a much easier way to align your data. So I see a lot of notes. Let's stick with the noodle lines. They're like mini charts. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at them, Jesus. They're like mini charts, exactly. David, I see your hand.
Yes. So I know we're not talking about this at the moment, but I saw one of the videos. It was on printing Excel sheets.
Okay.
And some people would have charts like those. And sometimes the charts would come out separately, like on different papers. So would you still also have to edit the margins on that Excel sheet for those charts to come out on the same, like in the same center?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, David. Actually, tomorrow's lesson is all about printing Excel spreadsheets because it gets very complicated. So yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. How do you format? How do you print to make sure that all of your data is on the paper properly? So I'm glad you brought that up. So yep, that's a good point. So, all right, so we're gonna do this, everybody. It's 9:42. Let's take a 5-minute break. Come back at 9:47, and then I'll explain what we're gonna be doing for today's deliverable. Thanks, group. And did you see the look in that guy's eyes? That is all of you going to internship, saying, I did it. My L&D is done. I got this. Look at me go. No matter what explosion happens behind me, I'm determined to move forward. So I hope that's inspiring to you all today, as it was to me. All right. So what we're going to be doing is, I understand this lesson is, like I said, pretty cut and dry. If for any reason you want to go with Ashley Ross, she has volunteered to teach a small group on how to do Sparklines. David and Muhammad are both available for one-on-one tutoring. If you're already done with the deliverable, which all the deliverable is do everything that I just kind of demoed for you. So once again, take your take this data set, do the Sparklines, however you feel fit. It has to be an easily readable way of looking at the visualization. Submit it on Schoology. If you're already done with that, then go ahead and work on the pivot table extra credit. I have some breakout rooms available if you want to go with some of your colleagues. So really for the last, we're going to spend only about 10 minutes on this because Mohammed's going to share with us one of his favorite functions in Excel. Here in about like 10:05, we'll have him come up. So if you want to go with a Excel Maven, we have Ashley Ross, we have David, we have Mohammed. I also have 3 breakout rooms available if you want to get together with your colleagues and try to work on the extra credit pivot table. That is available as well. But we're going to come back in about 12, 13 minutes. You can go ahead and go off camera, get your deliverable done on Sparklines. Once you're done with that, work on the pivot table extra credit. If you're already done with that, then I don't know what you should do. Just, watch a movie. I don't care. Then we'll come back in 12 minutes. All right. Sound good? So just private message me. Let me know who you want to go with. I'll send you to the breakout room and we'll be back here in a few minutes. All right, everybody, welcome back to the main room. We have about 15 more minutes of class left. I want to provide adequate time for Mohammed to share his favorite function in Excel. He was so generous to offer to talk about sum ifs, which is an important tool to know how to utilize. Just for clarity's sake, there was some confusion on my fault. I'll take a cue from Mahmoud's lesson and take responsibility for my own leadership challenges. I just posted the Sparkline deliverable on the Schoology, so you can go ahead and submit it there. The only thing that you need to do for that assignment is make sure you have a Sparkline next to each data set, as I outlined during today's lesson. Upload that to Schoology, and that's all you need to accomplish by midnight tonight. One thing that Chelsea flagged, which I'm glad that she did, is that when you upload it on Schoology, it does not display on like the preview mode. That's okay. Don't worry about that. When I download your Excel sheet, it'll show up there. So if you upload it and you're like, wait a second, I don't see my Sparklines on this sheet, that's okay. That happens sometimes with Schoology on the preview mode. When I download it, I'll be able to see it okay. So please make sure you submit that. And then for those of you who are the brave souls who are deciding to do the pivot table extra credit, that is due Thursday night at 11:59. So you have all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Thursday to submit that for those of you who are feeling ambitious. And with that being said, Mohammed, are you ready to go with your lesson on sum ifs?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you guessed. No, I want you to say, yes, I am ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, the floor is yours. Thank you. Let's hear it for Mr. Muhammad.
All right. So I said some if, but actually I meant to say if it's if is one of my top 5 Excel functions that I've been trying to learn. It's different than the one um, the one we learned from the intro to Excel. If you guys remember, when we first started with Excel, we try using if or some if, but if is a little different than that, and I'm gonna show you how. Okay, so if is basically very similar to if. It's basically check whether one or more conditions are met. It does with multiple condition. Basically, it does multiple condition. If you see the formula right here up top, you might think that this is a lot, but it basically is very simple. It does a step by step in like dealing with multiple table at one formula basically. So let's say that for an example, B5 right here, Anderson, Hannah. You can take that and ask Excel basically to give you the numbers. D5 if D5 is less than the numbers in G5 right here, which is 0. I want you to give me a letters, whether it's F or A or B or C, D, in this on a grade. So if you ever receive a report, a school report, you ever wonder why, how they made those reports, basically using Excel sheet, converting those numbers with the letters, and the letters represent the numbers. And Excel, using FS, basically takes up to 127 condition, and is much easier to read compared to if. An example of the formula is next. Oops, it's not moving. Sorry, guys. All right. So this is an example of the formula of if. So if I said, if I ask Excel if is B5 is greater than 80, so any number that is greater than 80, I want you to give me an A and double quotation with the A. So A is going to represent any number that is greater than 80. Same thing with B. If B5 and 70 is greater than any numbers, I want you to give me the B right next to it. So it's like repetition, but basically it does with multiple numbers in one formula. You could just do multiple table in one formula without repeating yourself in many times. Yeah, another thing is if you remember, we use greater than approve of a budget. With ifs, you can also use comparing. Like, for example, you can compare salaries using higher, lower, or the same. The same is just like equal sign. And one of the coolest things that I love about Excel is using emojis. So you can use emojis with if it's function. So let's say you're in class and then they ask you how you're feeling today about today's lesson. You don't have to write a sentence about it. You could just use a formula and describe the reaction using emojis in FS function on Excel. And that will be it. And I can show you in Excel sheet how I do it, if that's possible. But that will be it. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's thank Mohammed for taking the time to share with us the if function. I had no idea you could use emojis in Excel. I learned something new. So that's a really good resource to utilize as well. And I hope you all feel like, after these 3 weeks that we've had together exploring Excel, that you're no longer intimidated by it. So here's the thing: is that it's like any other tool or resource. The more time you spend with it, the more time you spend engaging it, the more you'll master it, and you'll get better at it. And being proficient in Excel is a really useful skill and tool for you to bring to your professional life. And we have been really blessed and fortunate to have people like Mohammed, to demo for us how to do functions and to help us expand our knowledge. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you. So thank you everybody for being a part of today's class. I do have office hours if anybody wants to explore the concepts in more depth. But other than that, I will see you tomorrow at 10:30. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. Take care.
Eric.
Thank you, Manny.
See you later, Eric.
See you later, David. To answer the question, Ashley, the final is actually going to be an exam. I'll be asking you questions on how to utilize Excel, and you'll be taking that through Schoology. But no, it will not be like the previous one where it's a real-time practice. It'll be an exam, multiple choice, and true and false, about 25 questions.
Have a good day, Eric.
You too, Ashley. Thanks for all your help today.
Sure.
Any other questions before we close up the room?
No, thank you. Have a good day, Eric.
Thank you. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, Rahul. Bye, Ricardo.
Bye.